duration of this 8-year-long war, this feudal war, a war to defend a so-called Afghan government of warlords, drug dealers, and women haters. We heard from Afghan women over the past months who came on tours, and they told us the promises of equality for women were a joke. That women are being attacked. We know that just a few months ago, they passed a law approving of marital rape. This was signed by President Karzai. This is what our soldiers should go over there and defend and get PTSD and depressions and die for and get injured in so many ways? Why should we be killing thousands of Afghans with drones and depleted uranium weapons? What's in it for us? What's in it for Afghans? There's an article in Harper's Magazine talking about this whole thing as a drug war. One drug group calling in strikes against another. The Karzai group against the Taliban group. What do we have an interest in that for? Let's get out of that thing. We have some problems in this country. We have 17 million unemployed. We have millions more underemployed. We have minority youth unemployed at levels of the Great Depression. Let's get the troops out of Afghanistan. This is ridiculous. Bring them home now. It's my privilege to introduce a historian and activist up from New York, Lenny Brenner, who's written a number of books, edited a number of books, and is a very critical and trenchant social thinker.
When I was a wee bit younger, I remember there was a saying, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" All right? It was a big Zen koyen, it was called. Well, I still don't know what the sound of one hand clapping is, but we all know what the sound of no hands clapping is. And that's what's going on in the United States today after Obama's speech. Nobody is in favor of the continuing war in Afghanistan.
That's right.
Nobody. The day before he spoke, Bob Herbert, the black columnist, op-ed columnist in the New York Times, already denounced him before he spoke for getting us deeper into Afghanistan. Today, Tom Friedman, again, op-ed in the New York Times, denounced the war in Afghanistan. And that's going on all over the media, and that means that the public is listening to us and not to Obama. It's time for us to get our act together to build not only an anti-war movement, but to build a movement to get rid of the present government of the United States, which has nothing more to say to the American people except spend your money on more bombs. Thank you.
Peace, no justice! No peace! USA in the Middle East, no justice!
I think after last night, people are now not under any illusions. This is President Obama's war. It's not the previous administration's war any longer. President Obama said in clear terms, 30,000 more American lives, our brothers and sisters going to basically a bloodbath in Afghanistan, along with a continued bloodbath in Iraq. We have to see these wars and occupations as connected because the ruling class sure does. I think that's clear. And then last night, President Obama has just opened, I think, a lot of people here and many millions of Americans that are agreeing with what we're saying on these steps today do not think the quicker way to end a war is to send more troops. That is a way, as it was just said, to spread more fire on a gasoline that's out of control. I think that's exactly right. We have got to bring the troops home, and we've got to bring the troops home now. Not in 11 months, not in 2011, not in 2013, or not in 2017. We have got to bring the troops home now, unconditionally. That's got to be the demand of the anti-war movement, not just in one war, but in anywhere that the United States goes and continues its atrocious historical record, which let's be honest, Barack Obama last night tried to cleanse. He tried to say this wasn't another Vietnam. He tried to say the United States did not have a bad record when it came to occupations. Let's ask the people, our brothers and sisters in Latin America, what the track record is when it comes to the United States. This country was founded on extermination, genocide, and occupation of the indigenous people of these lands. Wherever the United States has gone under the rubric of freedom, democracy, and flag waving, it has gotten a record that is what we know it to be: horrific, immoral, disgusting, and illegal. And I think we have to say that on these steps today. We're not going to sit any longer and say, all right, let's just wait and see what happens. Because the truth of the matter is, we know this, Barack Obama actually kept the campaign promise that he would send more troops to Afghanistan.
That's the truth.
That's what he's doing. We have got to build it. It was said before, I think everyone is looking at, hopefully, a flyer that talks about January 30th, a New England-wide conference that is coming together in the most democratic fashion and saying, let's figure out what are the next steps for the anti-war movement. Should there be more occupations at campuses? Should there be slowdowns at work? We have to tell all of our neighbors, our co-workers, our co-students, family, friends, that we have got to get in the streets. When we're in the streets, it gives more people, including the soldiers who have, just like they did in Vietnam, when soldiers resist war, the war cannot be prosecuted any longer. That's the type of vibrant movement we need to build. And I think everyone on these steps is thinking that way. Let's make sure we go back to our respective homes, our towns, campuses, workplaces, and spread the word that, guess what, you know what, people? Last night, President Barack Obama wants to continue a bloodbath. And I went to a demonstration and people said no more. Let's spread the word. Let's rebuild the anti-war movement on the strongest left principle. U.S. out, everywhere. Troops home now. Bring the troops home now.
The actual decimation of women's rights in Afghanistan was a direct result of the U.S. intervention, organizing, building up, funding warlords whose misogyny has now become the rule of the land. You know, think about the hypocrisy of Obama. Think about the hypocrisy of the U.S. government. They say they're in Afghanistan to defend women, yet they sold U.S. women down the river for nothing. In the health care plan, they took away our right to choose without a thought.
They got more mercenaries. It is a total disaster. Full